You are looking live at the JT and Looney podcast. I don't know when we did our last podcast. Was that before I went on my Mexican Riviera cruise?
I do think it was before that because I don't know if we did much cruise talk, unless it was on the phone.
Yeah, I think I'm finally coming off the cruise. It's taken me 8, 9 days of.
Oh, that is right. We haven't done it because a couple of times when we were going to do it, you would rather lay down.
I like the cruise. I did like the cruise. It was the Raider Nation fan cruise. There were over 420 fans, 14 alumni. So I did work a couple of hours a morning. Big giant theater where they had Jersey Boys perform, which was a really good show. So I was on stage every day interviewing alumni, going over the history of all that. And then what happens on a cruise when you're with 400 Raider fans is they recognize you and they want you to drink with them. And
Right.
it's hard to drink for 7 days in a row, including the day
You're
to
right.
get to LA, where
Especially for
was
you.
with you. And then the day getting home was not very, very easy. So, and then it took a couple of days because I think when you're on a cruise with 4,000 people, you're not going to feel great when you get off the boat because
Right.
there's just too many things that could go wrong when you get off the boat. So it did take me a good week to recover. I'd do it again. 7 days was a bit much. I think five's more my wheelhouse, but great to go to Mexico. Mexico was fantastic. The people were great. Mazatlan was great. Cabo was beautiful as always, and it was a nice little getaway.
Yeah, and the one thing about whether it's a cruise or any type of vacation, especially if you're a person like me who's a physically fit person, needs to work out. And I did work out on my recent Guanajuato vacation where we went for a week, but I don't drink every day normally. So it's the same thing where a lot of times, even though you could be anywhere, you could be Switzerland, anywhere in the world, sometimes by the seventh or eighth day in a row, you're done. And so I always try to schedule vacations leaving wanting more rather than the other way around. And cruises are all about eating and drinking. There's not many places you can go. They do have nice gyms on some
Yeah.
cruise lines, some boats. Did you see the gym?
Yeah, I went on the Peloton 3 of the days because I got the
Great.
Peloton at home, so I went on the Peloton there at some really weird hours too. But I got a little bit in, and I'm going on a slight vacation tomorrow. I'm going to go visit my son in Tempe. It's the last time I'll visit him before he graduates from Arizona
Wow.
State University. So I got the golf clubs. You like this? My wife was looking online to find places to stay because we're going to be out there in a month for graduation and we're staying at a nice resort. So we're going to go stay there and do a little bit of recon. And when she told me the price for the 3 nights in Scottsdale, I said, I have to train my brain to go on vacation because if I don't, I'm going to be pissed off for the prices I'm paying. So I'm trying to get my brain in the next 20 hours to say, hey, go on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday vacation because I'll be paying vacation prices. We do that now in Vegas and Scottsdale and San Francisco and LA. It used to be you could go visit these places for reasonable airfare, reasonable hotels, reasonable prices. But we are in a gouging stage, I believe out west. I don't know if it's going this way in the south and back east and our Canadian brothers to the north, and it wasn't in Mexico. But anywhere I go out west now, you got to take a freaking mortgage out to go visit from Vegas to Scottsdale to LA because the prices are out of control. Do you agree?
Well, how do you think people feel about buying avocados? There's a lot of people right now. One of the reasons why, even though the economy in many ways was booming, and we had an incumbent president who's slowing down with Biden, and one of the reasons Kamala Harris lost is because people have all these kinds of reasons. People are sick of paying too much for stuff, and they were hoping a new guy would help that out, and it's not. And people are really pushed to the edge with being gouged if they want to do something fun, or being gouged if they want to buy an avocado or groceries. And it's just something we have to fix because people have to be able to live and people, that's what the Michael Moore, no matter what you think about his politics, the Michael Moore documentaries were about. His dad worked at a spark plug factory, retired at 65. They had a home in Florida and a home in Indiana. They were able to do that with one person working. My aunt and uncle brought up 8 kids with just my uncle working in a milk factory. And right now, you can't bring up 2 kids if it's just one person working in most cases. So everything's costing too much, whether it's people taking their fancy vacations or people going to the store to get food.
All right, let's get the elephant in the room out of the way. Let's get it out of the way. This is our podcast.
We're Irish. We don't like to talk about elephants in rooms, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we don't do a lot of politics, but if Stephen A is going to run for fucking president, I can talk politics on my podcast, on my YouTube channel. If Stephen A is leading the vote right now already, our good friend. First off, a couple of things. I'm a former stockbroker. I don't need to be educated on the stock market. I know more than 95% of people because I was a stockbroker. So that's not being cocky. That's just me doing this my whole life since I've been 21. So I know the stock market. I'm confident the stock market's going to come back. I am. It always comes back. This one is one of the worst man-made stock market collapses of our life. Planes didn't fly into a building. This wasn't the real estate market crippled because of mortgage rates and the perfect storm.
No COVID.
This was a man-made collapse of the stock market. So not everybody owns stocks. As you always remind me, everybody seems to have a 60-inch TV in their trailer park. And has old channels. Not everybody has stocks, but a lot of people do. And I'm heavily invested in the stock market, and I'm getting my face ripped off. Okay, now, what the problem is, when the market's down 15 or 20%, which it is on this horrific run. It's not 15, 20% this year. It's 15 or 20% of all the money you saved your whole life. So if you're 85 years old or 27 years old or 39 years old, it's not down 20 over the last 5 days. It's down 20% of everything you've ever saved your whole life. That's why it's kicking our ass. So I don't care who you voted for. I'm not that politically driven. Normally, I don't care who the president is, normally. But this has been a dagger, sharp stick in the eye. We were told 2 wars were going to be over day one. We were told this was going to be the golden age, and it's the opposite of that. So I believe everything will come back. I believe everything will settle down eventually, but pretty much everything I own's from China. I think everything from this hat to everything, the shirt I own is from China. We put 104% tariff on China. China loves to fight us and kick our ass. They are not intimidated by us. Maybe Korea is, maybe Japan is, maybe Brussels is. China is not intimidated by us. They're up for the fight, and this is going to be bloody and really, really aggressively bad for a little while longer. So good night and good luck.
Yeah, and we were going through a golden age of traveling. From working in the news business for the last couple of years, every holiday we would set a record. So people weren't happy with how much things cost, but people were happy with how much money they were making. Well, people always want to make more. People weren't happy with how much groceries were costing. So people voted, and homes. And people thought, well, let's roll the dice and see if this helps. And I don't know about today. The number is probably different today. And you might know the number. But as of Sunday doing the news, I know that I was reporting on Wall Street watchers biting their nails because the market had lost $10 trillion in value since Trump's inauguration. And so, a lot of times when it comes to the economy, gas prices, housing prices, etc., those who like the president, no matter who it is, always say, well, it's not the president's fault. But we all know the president can take the credit. That's the way the job works. And the president has to take the blame. That's the way the job works.
Well, again, no matter who you voted for and who's ever listening or watching us, I will say this again. He will not survive the midterms if the market doesn't turn around. I don't care if you're the biggest Trump fan in the world, you don't like Trump, whoever you are, he's got no chance to survive the midterms at all. And remember, voting for Trump or not, he's been president 45 and he's president 47. Okay, that's very unique and that's unbelievably epic to be a human being and be the president twice, like him or not. His 45th presidency, 2 years got wiped out for COVID. What a shame. Yep. It's a fact. It was his presidency, it got slaughtered. So we lost 2 out of 4 years of 45 wiped out for COVID. Year 1 of 47 is brutal. Is absolutely brutal. So in order for it to get to even or average his first year in this presidency, a lot of good's got to happen, and maybe it will. So he could be done with year 1 of 47. So if you take the 2 COVIDs and this year 1, and you add up, that's 3. And it's not going well. And again, I hope it goes well. I don't care if it's Biden, Obama, Clinton, Bush 1 or 2, or Trump. I want everybody to do well. I want everybody to make a lot of money. I want everybody to have money for a rainy day. This is brutal, and it will get better, but don't sugarcoat it. And those pricks on cable news who told you that this would never happen and it was going to be great, and now every day they do stories on dogs and stories on anything other than what they told you was going to happen. And then they're avoiding the topic is fabulous to me too. So the media is crumbling around this because pro-Trump media is just astonished that they got everything wrong. Negative Trump media, many are celebrating this. They want the economy to crash and go down because they despise the president so much. So you got the perfect storm of chaos in media, chaos on television, chaos in politics, and hey, this is what we got. Hopefully it calms down, and I'm sure it will calm down here, Tom. Hopefully, I don't know, in weeks to months, we'll see.
I've always said I would prefer a Belgium sort of government. They have no president, and we are so in love with our Valentine now, especially with mass media when it comes to who's running for president. And I want them to play golf and do nothing. That's what I want them to do. We always play the golf card if we don't like the president. No, do nothing. Just sit there and let the country run by itself. The S&P 500. I know very little about the stock market. This is your wheelhouse, but it's gone up over the course of since its existence. If you invested in it, it was just going up 10% a year, 10% a year, 10% a year throughout its entire existence until now. So it's just leave us alone. I don't want to hear about the president. I don't want to hear about government. You know, it's the Ronald Reagan quote, get government off the backs of the American people, and it's all we're talking about now.
Yeah, someone in our chat, Paulo 2000, says it's a great buying opportunity. No, it's not. No one has any money. So let me repeat that. Okay, no one has any money liquid. I do very well for a living. I have some liquidity. I'm paying for college. I got 2 kids in college. One's about to graduate, okay? The hedge funds have money, okay? Some of the banks have money. The common American who's swimming in credit card debt, paying mortgages, have 2 jobs, don't have any money to buy a dip. So I love when people say, oh, this is a buying opportunity. When you got your face ripped off and your portfolio's down fucking 20%, yeah, it'd be nice if you had 70 grand in your checking account to go put 20 into the stock market. Again, as a former stockbroker, that is not reality. If I called all my stock clients from back in the day during this particular collapse, they'd be like, are you out of your mind? You're asking for money? Where am I going to get any money? You have all my money. You're looking at my money and it's down 20%. And you give it. So the people that are watching this that have no clue are fascinating to me. You can tell I'm worked up by this because, you know, I know people who are elderly, and they're close to their, I wouldn't say end of life, but they're close to the point where they'd like to spend the rest of their money or donate.
They're not on
grandkids.
the sunny side. They're not on the sunny side of the hill.
They don't have
They're on
any
the
time to make
morning.
it
They're not on the
back.
morning side of the mountain.
They don't have any time to make it fucking back. They can't make a 30% collapse in the market back when you're in your mid 70s to 80s. It doesn't work that way. But the sheep who say, well, just hold and it'll come back. Yeah, if you're 35, if you're 50, if you're 60, 100%. I don't sell any stock. I don't sell anything. I buy and hold, and it's worked out beautifully for me. Beautifully for me. Same with my real estate. I buy and hold. And it goes up and down, but mostly it's doubled or tripled. But when you go through something like this, you gotta be tough. You gotta be tough. And there's a lot of spineless pricks in the media, who told you everything was going to be great, and now it's not, and they're hiding, and they're running, and they're the most awful people in the history of cable news. You know who I'm talking about. So let's get
Well,
off of this.
as you said too about getting your face ripped off. If your chimp if your chimp rips your face off, it's not time to get another chimp, and you can't because you're paying hospital bills. That's what you're saying about buying stocks. You can't buy any stocks now because all your money that you had made on your stocks is gone. Or you're paying if you want to get in the stock market for the first time, you're paying too much for stuff. You don't have the money.
I've alienated and pissed off Dodger fans. Let me explain this to the Dodger fans.
Okay.
If the playoffs started today, the Dodgers would be the second wild card, and they're in third place in the NL West. Now, why do I bring this up? Number one, because Dodger fans have been banging their chest on how great they are. So I'm on the radio last night. You know I lose my shit when I look up and there's no one on hold. I'm like, I'm one of the most important radio hosts in the history of radio at night. I got a big show and there's not one person on hold anywhere in the world. And instead of saying, who cares about the calls, it freaks me out. So I went after the Dodger fans last night and go, Dodger fans, you're everywhere when you're winning, and now you've lost 3 in a row, and church mice. So I just want to bring this up again. The Dodger fans, they're the best team in baseball by a lot. By a lot. And when they lose, you don't hear a word out of them. When they're winning, I don't think this fan base has ever been more cockier, ever been more just arrogant than they are now with their 30-cent Ohtani bobblehead that they sell for $200. All their gear, their world championship gear. But a quick reminder, in the history of the Dodgers dating back to 1883, they've won a total of 8 championships. 8. Yogi Berra's won fucking 10. Yogi Berra's won 10. Derek Jeter's won 5. So when the Dodger fans tell you how great they are, they're great right now. You live a 7-iron away from Dodger Stadium. I'm just reminding you that the Giants and the Padres are playing a little bit better, Tom.
Oh, yes. Yeah, the Giants and the Padres. The great teams of April in the history of sports.
Yes.
Sky is falling in April, but that's why you're good at what you do. I'll tell you, I don't always watch baseball in April, and I've been watching since game 1 with the Dodgers. It's an all-star team, and something you've been treated to as a Yankee fan for years, and you cheer for the Yankees aggressively, to quote you. And I'm just having fun watching the games, except when they lose and they can't hit, and they've got the world's greatest baseball team. And their bullpens had issues, but did I send you the the video too of their post-game shows, just saying bullpen, 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 whether they're winning or whether they're losing. And there are a lot of people who it gives people. It's always great when Godzilla's getting taken down, and enjoy it while it's happening now. But it's going to be hard to beat this team in September, October, November, when it counts, because it's an all-star team, and it's so much fun to watch every night. I don't normally watch baseball this early in the season. I do now.
Yeah, and I'm cranky Yankee. I want to fire Boone already. I want Boone fired by April 9th. He's just terrible and got shut out in Detroit. And I turned it on last night. I was kind of losing my shit because the Knicks were up by 3 with 3 seconds to go, and Jason Tatum hit a 3 from almost half court. And then the Knicks lost again, and I'm like, they're 0-9. 0-9 against the Celtics, the Cavaliers, and the Thunder. 0-9. Your Lakers, Luka, got ejected from the game last night against OKC. They didn't want to beat OKC. I was saying yesterday, I was watching Wilbon and Kornheiser on PTI, the greatest sports prep show of all time. And they did about 2 minutes on how the Lakers, air quotes, didn't need to win that game because they have Dallas tonight. So if they're going to lose a game, they could lose in OKC because OKC just lost in LA and they were going to come back and win, and they did. And I'm sitting here going, can you imagine Bill Russell, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson watching TV, or Jordan in the 90s, where someone would say, tonight's a good night to lose because you're playing back to back and tomorrow's an easier game to win? Can you believe this shit?
I don't know if players at that level ever say that, but people who have to have an opinion for half an hour, or sometimes 3 or 4, um, have to have one. And we can always make up all kinds of conspiracies in our head. Not that we're doing it nefariously, but we come up with all kind of cockamamie conspiracies and theories, as you know, because we have time to fill. But they would have liked to have won that game. Those are competitive guys who are the best guys at CYO and the best guys in high school and the best guys in college and the international leagues and the best guys in the pros. They're the best of the best. They don't want to lose on any night. They don't want to lose one-on-one playing on the weekend. And Luka, it was kind of fluky. He must have said something pretty vulgar to the fan. Does the ref think he's talking to him? That's what the storyline was as I watched. But who knows? You shouldn't be. Should you really be tossing one of the best players in the league out of a big game that a lot of people are watching? That's another question too. Toss the guys that stink out of the game. Don't toss the really.
We always say on the podcast, if I was king, if I was an NBA ref, I'd throw everybody out. I'd look at these guys and I'd say, you're bitching. Kobe would have got thrown out of every game. I mean, Kobe never stopped chirping. Luka never stops talking. And I think it's good to throw these guys out. I will tell you that.
I will tell you this. If I was a referee at any level, I would say, guys, you can't argue every call. Because you know what? I'm human. I'm going to get one wrong every once in a while. And I need to know if I did. And if you're gonna complain on every call, I can never listen to you. Because I'll know when you're full of crap, and I'll just assume you're always full of crap. They got to stop complaining on every single call, and I don't know if we can get them to do that.
Here's why you should be really excited to be a Laker fan. I'll give you the Knicks, for example, as the 3 seed. The Knicks can't beat Cleveland, and they can't beat Boston. Under any circumstance, they can't beat them. The Lakers, as the 3 seed, can beat Houston and can beat Oklahoma City. Now, Oklahoma City is having a year like Jordan had with the Bulls and Steph. I mean, this is one of the all-time great winning percentage teams. So in theory, Oklahoma City is really good. But because they have no experience in the Western Conference semis or Western Conference finals, if the Lakers get there and LeBron gets a good night's sleep and Lucas scores 40, they can beat Houston easily or Oklahoma City. So the Lakers, this might be the best year for the Lakers to be the 3 or 4 seed, because we're not talking about them having to take down a Warrior dynasty, or even, how about Denver firing their head coach? Oh, my God. Or Denver with Jokic. I think the Lakers got a puncher's chance, Tom.
If LeBron gets a good night's sleep, he's not Joe Biden. If LeBron gets nobody prepares more he works out before the game. If LeBron gets a good night's sleep, notice what I cherry pick out of that as a defensive Laker apologist. But you're right in terms of experience, and Lakers probably aren't afraid of. Well, they should be afraid of the Oklahoma City Thunder because of what they've done in the regular season. But the Oklahoma City Thunder are vulnerable because of their youth and experience in the postseason atmosphere, which was much, much different. And you can only tell them that so much as a coach, but then when they go out and experience it, it's a punch in the face. And it's always fun for the league. It's great when Notre Dame's great in college football, and because they have haters and lovers and people who don't even know where to find them on a map who love them. And same with the Lakers or the Dodgers or some of the Giants and Titans in sports. When they're good, it gives somebody to cheer against, and it gives somebody to cheer for, in my case. And the Lakers can beat anybody because of who they've got on their team, because of 2 guys. They've got 2 guys who are top 10 players, and they've almost always had that as long as I've been a fan. Sometimes 3. and that's been a fan base that is absolutely spoiled.
Hey, I conducted the first ever interview with Geno Smith as a Raider, and
Ooh.
put that up there for a big moment for me. Oh my God, how come no one told me Geno was so good? He won 26 games the last 3 years. That's more than Stafford and Burrow. He's got a 70.4 completion percentage. I asked him, this was good because I'll send it to you. Maybe you can throw it in. I asked him, I go, when'd the completion percentage? And he just talked down to me. He said, my completion percentage has always been good, which he's kind of right. And now, if the Raiders get Ashton Genty, the Raiders could have Brock Bowers, Geno Smith, Ashton Genty, Max Crosby, Christian Wilkins, and all of a sudden, Raider Nation could be back. Because Pete Carroll, you covered him at USC before he went to Seattle. All he does is compete and win. And now the Raiders have a quarterback that I think can put them in situations in the fourth quarter to hold on and win games, or come from behind and throw 2 touchdowns and come from behind and win a game. I like this.
Yeah, and he's having one of those careers, those Rich Gannon type careers. There's several people over the years, Kurt Warner, where they start to figure things out in their 30s and they're not too damaged from their 20s. Geno's not too damaged because he didn't play a lot and he was observing and watching and not playing as much. And if in the completion percentage, the big thing is, when a guy comes out of college and he can run and he can pass, can he hit a wide open receiver, or can he in the NFL, and they can always hit the wide open receivers in college because they're always wide open, but can he hit the small windows? And like you said, with the completion percentage, the answer is yes with Geno, and make fewer mistakes, see the field more clearly in their 30s. It happens to quarterbacks quite often. Who had okay careers in their 20s and then things slow down in their 30s. And Geno's one of those, and it'll be exciting. How's your offensive line?
Not bad, not great, but interesting you said this. If you go DK Metcalf, that giant human being, that guy looks like he's built out of granite. If you go look on his highlight reel on YouTube, something you talk about, go watch it. It's about 5 minutes long on all his touchdowns, and every pass is from Geno. And it's fucking insane how great DK Metcalf was with Geno. Every big touchdown, point of attack, ball, bomb, all that came from Geno. So you might say, well, how good is Geno Smith? Well, go throw on the YouTube video of DK Metcalf and how he's dominated the sport. The balls come from Geno the last couple of years, and it's really good. But the draft is
well. Your coach has good instincts. Remember. Back in the day, Seattle didn't draft Russell Wilson to start. But by game 1, Russell Wilson, this unknown guy that was the 3rd-string quarterback, was the starting quarterback. And I think your coach's track record speaks for itself.
The NFL draft is getting really interesting here for a couple of reasons. There seems to be 3 quarterbacks. The 2 are Cam Ward, who should go number 1 out of Miami. Shador had a really good throw day at Colorado. If you watched any of that, I watched every throw he made. It was really beautiful to see that ball come out. And
I say, screw throw days. He had a terrible offensive line, and again, an incredible completion percentage. With a crap, he was running for his life. Wait till he gets in the NFL and people can block and stuff.
Yeah, and this Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss is a good player too. And then Will Howard. There's going to be a couple of good players there overall, but. What's really fascinating to me, the draft, I've been covering the draft for almost 30 years. I cover it one way. I cover the first 15 picks. That's what you do. It's the first 15 picks. It used to be the draft was on all day. Goodell was a genius. That's why he's getting a gold jacket. He put it on Thursday. And then he moved it from Tennessee to Detroit to Green Bay to Vegas. He made it a television show on a Thursday night. Not 2 rounds, 1 round. And the first round is so good because teams want to trade up, teams want to trade back, teams need quarterbacks. So I think it's going to be riveting. I think the first 12 to 15 picks, like every year, is going to be great. And then the draft will get into its own. I've had a lot of draft insiders on over the last 2 to 3 weeks. There's probably going to be 25 to 30 running backs selected in the seven rounds. So you will get a good running back in the 2nd or 3rd round. But like anything else, if you want a superstar player, you better get them early in the draft because the superstars live in the first 2 rounds.
And when people talk about running backs being interchangeable these days, it's not necessarily a bad thing in this way. They've just gotten so good. One of those
Yeah.
positions in football where where they've gotten so good that we're a little bit spoiled. And I'm glad to see this kind of a resurgence in running back excitement in the NFL because when we were growing up, it was all about the bell cow running back who was going to get 30 carries a game and who you got. And back in our day in the hot tub time machine, but I've always loved my running backs and my running quarterbacks. That's one another reason I'm excited about yours.
Yeah, the one thing I just despise about the draft is when you have a top 10 pick and you take a cornerback, a corner, and he's out of the league in 3 years because he can't fucking
Oh,
cover anybody and he
oh,
can't play. And you draft a corner in the first round and you're sitting there going, oh no, we took a corner and he can't play in the NFL. So it's hard to
well,
take corners.
JT,
Yeah,
just go back 4 years, go back 8 years, go back 1 year. Take a look at the NFL draft order, and you'll go, "Where's that guy now? Where's that guy
yeah.
now? Where's?" And just look up the top, the top picks, top 32 picks. Take a look, and you'll say, "Ooh, where's that guy now?" There's a whether it's a cornerback or an offensive lineman or a quarterback. There's a lot of duds in this first round, but we don't think they are. That's the fun of the day.
A great segue because you're wearing the shirt. You're going through this big Stallone. You're going through this big Stallone thing with you now where you're right back into Stallone the way you were years
Yep.
ago. What's going on with you and Sylvester Stallone in
Well,
Hollywood?
it's sort of it's sports documentaries in May. That's basically what it is when I'm texting you. I got really excited over the Johnny Football documentary, not realizing it was 4 years old or whatever. And I got really excited over Swamp Kings,
Yeah.
which I never thought. I love my running quarterback Tim Tebow had one of the great college careers ever. I wanted him to do well because you always want people to do. I want people to do well, and but I wasn't as gaga as everyone else. But now I love him. Urban Meyer. There's some questionable reasons whether or not anybody should like Urban Meyer, but I've dropped all that. I love Urban Meyer. Love Tim Tebow. Got to see Swamp Kings if you haven't seen it. It's on Netflix. And the Sylvester Stallone documentary, which is just an incredible story. It's a rough story. He had one brother, as we know, Frank, the singer. And when his parents got divorced, Frank went with his mother. He went with Sylvester Sly, went with his father, who wasn't his biggest fan, was kind of jealous of him. And you don't think of him as a creative type because he doesn't look like one. Guys with muscles and guys who look like Rocky and guys who have a paralyzed face, so they talk funny. You don't think of them as being a creative genius. But he's written and directed so many of his movies because he couldn't get himself cast, so he wrote his own movies with heroic endings because he had a sad life. He doesn't want any sad growing up. He doesn't want any obsessed with happy endings, as Hollywood tends to be. So he's in the right place. And there's so much to love about the story of Sylvester Stallone. Everybody should see it.
Yeah, I love the Arnold documentary a lot. And
Yep.
Arnold and Stallone competed against each other in the prime of their movie careers, and they were both kicking ass. They were
Yep.
both destroying the box office. Everything they threw out there was a monster hit, which was pretty incredible. And their
And,
friends
and,
and
and it does have this bird magic feel to it. Where
Mhm.
what's that guy doing? What's that guy doing? Where they were very competitive and antagonistic when they were younger, for competitive reasons. And so there's a lot of Schwarzenegger in the Sylvester Stallone documentary.
Monday, April 14th, 2025 is the 30th anniversary of me winning the Smack Off. Now,
Wow.
I'm not big on birthdays. I'm not big on anniversaries. I am. My wife and I have been married 25 years. So this will be the 30th year that I've won the Smack Off. And that's coming up on Monday. And I'm going to do something on Monday. I'm going to look back. I'm going to do a couple podcasts on that, how I won the Smack Off, what happened since I won. But man,
We wouldn't know each other.
yeah, we didn't know each other back then. I didn't know my wife.
I said- and we wouldn't know each other now, most likely, because you always said if you didn't win, you wouldn't have changed careers. If you took second place or third place, if you were Buzz Aldrin and not Neil Armstrong, you would not, or you were Kamala and not Joe, you would not you have not have changed careers and gone into talk radio, correct?
If I did not win the smack off and come in first, my life would have been completely different. There's no chance
Wow.
I would have met my wife. There's no chance these two kids would be my kids.
Right.
There's no way I'd live in Vegas. There's no chance I would work for the Raiders going on 29 years. There's no chance that I met, a number of some of the best friends in my life. So I'm a big believer in fate. I think things happen for a reason. So that's, as I'm reminiscing on 30 years coming up here, it's a big part of this because I don't know what my life would have looked like without winning that caller contest. No one knows. And everybody in life, no one knows what's going to happen. And if you're an athlete, if you don't make a team, you don't get to the league, the show, your life's
Right.
different. If you're a movie actor and you don't get that first sitcom or that first soap opera, you might quit and never go back. So when you look back on your life, hopefully you don't have any regrets. I don't have many regrets. But that scenario for me was pretty big, and it'll be 30 years on Monday.
It's incredible. And so now, would you, if you didn't go into that, you think you maybe would have stayed in the stock market? Could you have gotten in trouble for insider trading? Could there
Yeah,
have been?
yeah. I think I would have drifted off into real estate. I think I would have.
Ah,
I was in commercial real estate at the time. I was doing really well, but that was the biggest real estate market crash in Southern California history. So even though I was doing well, we weren't selling anything, but I felt like that was really my wheelhouse. And
interesting.
I would have been pretty good at that too. But you never know. This business of talking for a living. I always thought I was going to talk for a living because I talked a lot in college, and I always felt comfortable talking in front of people. But
Right.
for radio, and I think I'm most excited about the last 30 years coming up, and 30 years really the caller, 28, 29 years on the radio, is because I think we were there, and this is not get off my lawn shit. I think we were there for the best part. The best part of 20 out of my 30 years was the greatest era in sports radio history. It wasn't in the 80s when Mike and the Mad Dogs started because no one knew sports radio when it started. No one gave a shit about it. And then, the birth of Rome and some of the other bigger shows. Now, through the arc of this, we're heading into podcast and McAfee and Stephen A. And McAfee and Stephen A. haven't done sports radio long. McAfee's been doing it less than 5 years. Stephen A's done it longer than you think, but not longer than us. So when you look at this, I don't think the future is bright for sports radio. It might be bright for podcasts, but we could actually say that we were in the heyday, kind of like the movie industry when guys were making 20 million a movie and box offices were at $1 billion. We were in that era in sports radio.
Yeah, yeah, we were in an era where it's almost like when AM radio was dominated with disc jockeys and music. That was a golden era in itself. And we were in an era when this new format came along. Someone says we got to go to sports, and it was 24 hours, just like in most markets. So people said, "Oh my God, we have to hire 20 people," and so a lot of people were able to break in to an industry where if you wanted to work in spoken word radio and talk radio, and Rush Limbaugh, Dr. Laura Art Bell changed that industry, and several titans in sports talk radio, WFAN in New York. People said you can do all sports 24 hours, and then they started making more money than any other radio station in the country, and people started switching. And there's all of a sudden it made it less competitive, still incredibly competitive because there's more fighter pilots than there are people doing talk shows on the radio, sports or news talk, and it gave us a great opportunity to do it for a living because there were so many more formats across the country in every size market.
Yeah, I don't think, I'm so happy to be a sports talk host and talk sports for a living. I mean, it's been the greatest accomplishment of my life professionally, but people don't give a shit as much as they used to. I mean, if you go back to the ratings hierarchy of the Fan and WEI and the Ticket in Dallas and KMBR, it's obvious there, and people are now finding podcasts and all that, but people aren't as riveted as they were 10, 15, 20 years ago when they were riveted to have to listen to their sports talk show or their sports talk guy where it was I have to hear this show every day. There are still people that I'm happy listen to me that way and listen to other shows that way, but not at the volume and the size that it was in the 90s and the early to mid 2000s.
Well, yeah, we're working in radio in an era where people aren't as enthusiastic about it. A lot of times they will show the studies that people listen to as much radio currently as they do that watch television. That's usually radio companies that say that. But people have a lot other access to information that you could provide them back in the day that they can now get themselves. And younger people can understand the concept of they want to get their own sports information, you giving it to them, just like they want to get their own music and pick their own music rather than having a radio station play it for them and have to wait to hear your favorite song. That concept is lost on people under 40 and who used to be under 30, who used to be under 20, and now that's growing. And so times change, and we can either bitch about it or have a good time with the times we're living in.
Well, we're going to have our first 90-degree day today in Vegas. It just shot up. So we went from 60, 55. We're going 89, 90 today. I'm going to head out and see my son out in Scottsdale where it's going to be 93 or 94. So get ready, Tom. Here we go. I mean, I was telling my wife, we get some guy to clean the pool every week. It's time to get in. When it's 90 degrees, it's time to get in the pool and not look at it at night over a glass of wine. So here comes the heat wave out west. Are you ready? Is everything safe and good in La La Land as you have Hollywood over your left shoulder?
Well, as you know, it's a lot of work being me. And I got to do my cardio, got to get my steps in, got to walk the husky, got to lift the weights, and then there's work. But I'm always looking like usually you begin the show with weather. It's nice this time you're ending it with it. I would suggest you do that every time. As I look at mine, we're just getting in the 80s today, but I'm always looking for the perfect time to get out there in the sun and get some color. And we're just getting 80s today, but I do love, we are guys, snowbirds who moved from really, really cold places where the sun didn't shine as much to places where it does all the time. And we can't stop talking about it. And won't. It's we both live in one of those places. Yours gets a little oveny compared to mine, but where we never stopped. When you lived in LA, we never stopped walking outside based on our routes and looking up and going, what a nice day. And it is fun to say that.
We have a better podcast and we have better chemistry than people who make millions of dollars doing this. So we're going to continue to do it. We're going to continue to grind at it. We would like everybody to follow us on social media, subscribe and share. JT and Looney, wherever you get your podcast. And again, I got like 12,000 Facebook followers and 60,000 X followers and whatever. If everybody would just fucking subscribe, life would be so much easier for us. But you got to get people to subscribe, like, and share. So we hope if you're listening or watching, by the end of this, you'll subscribe and share it with other people. So someday, Looney and I will take a private jet to see each other in a real podcast studio with people working for us. And this thing could get easier and easier than just crossing our fingers, hoping our cameras and microphones work.
That reminded me of the Kaepernick days with the Star Spangled Banner controversy, and you pointed at your finger at cameras and at the radio and said, fucking stand for the national anthem. And now you're saying, fucking subscribe. Maybe that should be our motto. Fucking subscribe.
I hope that doesn't live on Google. Thanks for listening.